Hello and welcome. I've got for you today a very slim laptop from Lenovo's series, the Slim series. So this one here is the latest generation 10 of the 14-inch Slim 7 for 2025. If you're looking for a thin, slim laptop that has enough power to do it all, it's got the latest hardware in from Intel Lunar Lake. It's got a decent GPU as well for some, budget gaming sessions. And of course, it's got light, heft, and a premium build quality here that you can carry along with you in your backpack that will last you all day, whether it's a work session or a play session or even a session during your school or college university. A very premium build quality. We're going to take a look at this in this video here. So before we do that, a quick disclaimer: this was sent out to me by Lenovo. That said, all of the thoughts here in this video will be wholly my own and none have been privy to editorial review of the content herein. That said, I always like to get links and discounts for you guys, so please click in the description below and check for links if you are interested in purchasing this product. It really helps out the channel, and of course we can drop some codes for you guys or some discount codes as well, so please always check the description boxes if you're interested in purchasing any of the products that I review for you guys on this channel. Let's begin. First and foremost here, we'll take a look at the build quality. So this is a premium device. It's all aluminum built here. It's very solid build quality. And being that it is a 14-inch device, it's going to be very nice and sturdy. There's very little twist or torque that you can put to this device here that's going to make you uncomfortable. And of course, being anodized aluminum, it's got this nice smooth finish here. It does pick up some fingerprints, but being that it's kind of a gray color, it's not as bad as some of the other laptops that I've reviewed. Also new for 2025, Lenovo has simplified their branding now. So if you look at this here, we've got a nice centered Lenovo logo. If you look at some of the new Legion laptops that are coming out later in the year, you also get RGB control over this. What else is new for 2025? We have a 5 megapixel infrared webcam up here that is capable with Windows Hello. We'll take a look at that in just a moment and show you what that array looks like. And overall, the quality of this feels, slim. It's very easy to hold. It's very light, and as you can see here, it's quite thin as well. And it's got these tapered edges all around that I saw with the Lenovo, the 15-inch version of this as well, the Gen 9 that I reviewed just a little while ago on my channel. Go check out that video here. I'll drop a card in the corner. So this one here just comes in at 2.82 pounds or 1.28 kilograms. Very, very light, and this is a very, very good companion to have with you. Even if you have a very beefy desktop setup, you need something that you can travel with that has all of your data on it and has some very good performance from the Lunar Lake CPUs. And of course, not just for workloads, your typical workloads like word processing and content generation, writing emails, etc., but even stuff like AI usage, because it has an Intel built-in APU, an NPU, thanks to Lunar Lake. And of course, we get the ARC 140V graphics, which means you can play most games medium to high settings at the native 1080p resolution of around 30 FPS. Of course, it's not going to be any, break any records there, but 30 FPS is enough that you can enjoy some gaming sessions while you're away. So another nice thing here is they've got this camera housing here protrudes from the body, so that means it's quite easy to open. And some other niceties, when you open it up, you'll see that it has flip to power on. And if we open this up here, we'll see we get a beautiful, gorgeous OLED display here. So as you can see, there's zero backlight bleed whatsoever. So that's the nice thing about the Lenovo Slim 7 for Gen 10 2025. We've got all OLED displays on offering here. There's a few different configurations you can get. You can start with 1920 by 1200p resolution, which is what I've got here. But it can certainly scale all the way up to 2880 by 1800, which is basically a retina-like resolution for a 14-inch display like this. Now, keep in mind, I've got the brightness here at about 50%, and my camera shows that it's starting to overexpose a little bit. So this display also gets very, very bright as well. It is a 500 nits display, and being OLED, it's only 60 hertz though, because this is not meant for a gaming laptop. That said though, because of the very low response times on OLED displays, you can certainly do a lot of gaming on this and you won't really notice a lot of artifacts, as long as you enable VSync and you can push close to that 60 FPS frame rate of this display. Now, some games also support half VSync rate. If you have that, fantastic. You can even play at a very smooth 30 FPS, but your mileage may vary on that one there. Another thing that's new here is that Lenovo Vantage just keeps getting better and better. So this year here, we've got lots of functionality and features here. Of course, this display being, it is a touch display, so you can get, of course, touch and non-touch options as well. That will depend on your region and some configurations as well. This device here, as I mentioned, has Lunar Lake. So let's just hop in here. We'll show you the CPU. If you hop over to performance, we've got an Intel Core Ultra 7 258V, which is the Lunar Lake CPU new for 2025. And this guy here has 8 cores. We don't have hyper-threading in this model. This is a combination of 4 P cores plus 4 E cores. And if we hop into hardware info here, we'll see that in addition to having the 8 cores here, we get the new Intel Arc 140V graphics, which are built into this chip. So that basically gives us the ability to have some VRAM dedicated from system memory, and we can do some light gaming on this device as well. The base speed on these Lunar Lake CPUs is actually 2.1 gigahertz, which is not that high, but they can boost all the way up to 4.8 gigahertz on the P cores. There's 4 of them here. And of course, we've got 4 E cores as well for those efficiency, low power cores. Those are at 2.2 gigahertz and can boost up to 3.7 gigahertz as well. This one here is the 258V. That is the top of the stack for the low power series. And we can see here that the TDP is configurable between 17 and it can max out at around 100 watts or so. There's also an NPU on board here thanks to the Lunar Lake CPU. That means we get another 47 TOPS of AI performance from the built-in Intel APU. This is a certified Copilot Plus PC. That means you have a certified Copilot key here on the keyboard deck. As we can see, these are certainly starting to make their appearance across many more laptops here. So Microsoft is heavily pushing integration for AI into Windows, and of course with Copilot. The big benefit of the Intel Lunar Lake CPU is that they are very power efficient, so they're going to actually last a lot better than the Raptor Lakes of yesterday or any of those high power Skylake iterative upgrades that we saw over the last decade or so. You're going to get much better performance here with this, and you're also going to get much better battery life for longevity throughout the day if you're away from your desk and AC power. In addition, because now we've got a true APU here, we've got CPU cores, we've also got a iGPU that is actually decently powerful with 64 TOPS of performance. The 140V can actually game with casual games at around 30 FPS, and we've got an NPU on board here to do all of our AI processing. So this really is a do-it-all laptop. If you're going to be doing any of those things or any combination of those things, you should certainly be looking at this laptop for 2025. All right, we'll take a look at the port situation on offer here. So starting on the left-hand side of the device, we got a full-size HDMI port. We get 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. This one also has power for the laptop itself and power delivery. And of course, we get a micro SD card slot here. So if you have a little handy-dandy micro SD card, it's very nice. You can actually plug it in to offload all of your media or to load stuff onto your media card. It goes in about yay, and it's not too bad. It sticks out just a very little bit here. So even if you leave it inserted, you're not going to have any issues about breaking it or snapping it in half. Okay, continuing on the right hand side, we get a single USB type A port. This is the 3.2 Gen 2 variety, so you're going to get 10 gigabits of transfer speeds on this guy. We got a microphone combo audio jack here. We get the power button with the LED that indicates whether the device is on or in sleep mode. And of course, finally at the end here, we get an e-shutter, which is very common now for Lenovo, particularly with their slim lineup of devices here. So this will toggle the webcam on and off. It gives you a little bit of control over your privacy. And on the front of the device, as I mentioned, nothing here except this extruded lip here that is the camera housing for and we can see that Lenovo has nicely labeled this extrusion here from the body with a 5 megapixel infrared camera and of course 4 voice ID mics here on this device. You're going to get excellent teleconferencing and meetings with this device with the 5 megapixel webcam and of course with those 4 digital voice ID mics as well. All right, so that's it for the port situation. On the rear of the device, we have just some housing here, some grills for some fan intake. We get 2 speakers on the bottom here. We got a total of 4 different speakers on this device here, and they're tuned by Dolby Atmos. So we've got also a Dolby Vision display here as well. So now let's get into the laptop itself, and we'll talk about some of the goodies here that you get on board. So excuse the light, we'll have to turn it a little bit away. All right, so I've got the brightness dimmed all the way down here. We'll turn the brightness up now. We saw that being that this is an OLED panel, there was 0 backlight bleed issues whatsoever. So we'll turn it up now in slow increments of 10%. So this is 0, 10% backlight, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and 100. Now with this display, I think the OLED displays are getting better and better. This must be one of the latest generation displays because at 50% brightness it is very usable. And of course, if you're in a dim light situation where you don't have all these studio lights blasting in your face, you can even run this display at 30%. The text remains sharp, it remains the clarity and contrast so that it is actually visible without harming your eyes overall. So for those long extended work and study sessions late into the night, this is going to be your guy. All right, and just for completeness sake here, even though this isn't a high refresh rate display, nor is it a VRR display, I thought I'd show you here that the OLED display on this device is actually very good. So we can see here we've got 60 FPS logged here, and we're getting smooth motion across the display here on this UFO test. And of course, being that this is a touch display means you can do all of the touchy goodness. You can do multi-touch gestures here. You can zoom in and out. And of course, you can also use, stuff like paint here to draw on the screen. You can get yourself a tab or a stylus here, and you can do some very interesting stuff. So we'll just write over here, Lenovo. And it actually works quite well. There's very little perceptible lag. If you have a stylus, of course, you can do some decent artwork and some creative work on this device. Okay, so next we'll talk about the RAM here. So being that this is in the latest generation 2025 laptop, most of these laptops, particularly the slim ones, now have soldered RAM. This is just a fact of the reality that we have to face and accept into 2025. So here though, we do get very fast RAM because these Lunar Lake CPUs, and of course the latest from AMD as well, want very fast RAM. They're very hungry for RAM and they can push around a lot of data. CPU power has increased immensely, but it needs the RAM speeds to back that up. So we've got DDR5 on board here. This is 8533 mega transfers per second at 32 gigabytes capacity in my configuration here for the Slim 7. As for storage here, the Slim 7 includes one singular SSD drive here. This is the PCIe Gen 4 variety. We get a 1 terabyte capacity drive in this particular model here. And we look at here the benchmarks for the speed test. Though it's a Gen 4 drive, it doesn't seem to give the performance that you would expect from a Gen 4 speed. You should get theoretical 7,000 megabits per second read and write speeds on those devices according to that standard, but we're seeing about 4,500 for read and about 3,000 for write. So this is about half of what we should be expecting. Perhaps this is the choice of OEM supply that they've used, but this isn't the fastest drive out there. Certainly if you want to upgrade, you get that one singular slot. You can pop into the laptop and upgrade. Now keep in mind that the SSD inside this is a 2242 millimeter SSD length, so you'll have to make sure that you find the right length if you're going to be upgrading in the near future. Speaking of the keyboard here, we've got the pretty standard Lenovo Smiley Keys keyboard here. The keys look fantastic. They've got a nice shape to them. They're rubberized, so they have a nice texture. However, I did notice in my about a couple weeks of usage here that they did pick up some fingerprint oil, so you'll certainly need to have a cloth around or to wipe these down with a damp cloth every now and then to keep them looking fresh. Overall, they feel comfortable. They do have a nice key travel here. They have a nice sound. Because it's a 14-inch chassis and it's a little bit more compact, things are quite, a solid feeling. You don't get a hollow ringing sound. You don't bottom out. And if you're a heavy typer, if you have a heavy hand when you type, this is going to feel very comfortable to you. I was able to get up to speed very quickly. Keeping in mind that this is a 14-inch laptop, we don't have any keypad off to the sides here. We get just a centered QWERTY keyboard, and this is the style that I personally like. And flanking the left and right, here and here, we have two additional speakers for that Dolby Atmos tuned sound. It does sound pretty good. It is loud enough. It is clear enough, but it's certainly not going to win any awards. If you're looking for a great audio experience while you're consuming media, you should be using a decent pair of headphones. So now let's get into this here. We'll do a little bit of a typing test. We may need to increase the volume in post, but I will add that as a note on the video if I do. We'll give you just a little bit of a typing test here on this Slim 7 for 2025. Here we go. Right, so it sounds pretty good here. I can get up to speed pretty quickly, getting it to around 95 words per minute with decent accuracy. Of course, with time, you'll get used to this keyboard as well. I'm also at an off angle here, trying to make sure that I can get everything on the camera, so it's a little bit awkward to type here. But that said, very, very good keyboard. And if you look at the trackpad here, we got a nice buttonless glass surface multi-touch trackpad here, so we can do all of your precision on, gestures and everything without any issues. All trackpads today on these Windows laptops function pretty well, and Lenovo's done a great job here with this, surface on the touchpad. And we'll take a look at some synthetic benchmarks here for this Lunar Lake CPU. Starting with 7-zip here, we can see the compression and decompression performance. We also see here the super pi calculation, which calculates pi to a number of different places. And of course, the more familiar one for everybody, the pass mark score here of 6351. Also did some Blender benchmarks here on the iGPU. So what is the CPU/GPU capability for rendering? Here's a multi-score from the Geekbench 6 here. We also see the OpenGL and also the Vulkan scores here for the iGPU. That's the Intel Arc 140V that's built into the Lunar Lake chip here in this Lenovo Slim 7 Gen 10. We have the Corona benchmark here as well, and we can see fairly good performance. Cinebench, obviously those scores are quite low, but we don't have a discrete GPU here, so that is kind of to be expected. And finally, some AI scores here, so we can see what the capabilities are of that integrated NPU. And as we see here, the Intel Core 7 Ultra here, 258V, is a bit of an amalgamation of a few different texts and generations. So we look here, we see the Intel Arc GPU that's now been bolted on to these the Intel Core CPU cores there. We've got 4 E cores and 4 performance cores here for a total of 8 cores overall. There is no hyperthreading on this generation. And of course, because this is configurable, we get from a 17-watt TDP configurable. And being that this is a Lunar Lake powered laptop, it's got a Copilot, key function built in here, and it's also got an NPU on board. So it should have some really decent AI chops. Here I've got LM Studio loaded up. I've used just the Llama 3.2 1 billion model, and we're just going to ask it a question about the real story of the moon, and let's see how fast the performance is. As you can see here, it works actually quite well. It's starting to tell me the story of the actual truth behind the moon landing. I just thought I'd show you guys that this indeed has some good chops on the AI front. Of course, if you prefer Copilot, you don't need to install any of these softwares or anything like that. You can simply just press the Copilot key. It'll fire up into Copilot. Now you can do some pretty interesting stuff here. So we'll ask it the same question. What is the true story of the moon landing? And if we type it here, it starts to give us an answer. Of course, keep in mind, to do a lot of this advanced stuff here, you will need a Microsoft account and you'll need to sign in. So I find that a little bit irritating that you have a dedicated hardware key called the Copilot key, and yet accessing a lot more advanced functionality requires you to have an account before you can do so. But that said, here you have very, very easy access to AI now, particularly for writing, for generating emails, for formatting, for text-based tasks of that nature. Of course, these AI engines are also capable of much, much more, but alas, that's a different video for a different day. So AI chops, well done here, Lenovo. Well done, Lunar Lake. This is a test of the 5 megapixel built-in webcams into the Lenovo Slim 7 Gen 10 for 2025. These are Windows Hello recognition facial IR cameras, and they also have 5 megapixel resolution. Although the capture in the software is going to be 1440p at 60 FPS, that still gives you a very smooth image, a much improved image, I think, over the 1080p and the Full HD webcams we saw last year and during 2023. Certainly a welcomed improvement here. We also have 4 Voice ID mics here that are going to hone in on my voice. You get clearer audio with less interruption and less background noise, and particularly echoes of that sort. So with that and the APU in this Lunar Lake CPU, we should be able to get a much better video calls and meetings from this infrared camera and also those Voice ID mics in this Gen 10 Slim 7. And speaking a little bit about connectivity here, being that this is a very slim device, you don't get any Ethernet ports on this device here. You can, of course, add an Ethernet port via USB-C adapter, or you can get yourself a dock, which has a USB to Ethernet converter or an Ethernet port in it as well. Now, keep in mind that this device here, because it's the latest laptop, it's got the latest Wi-Fi and Bluetooth standard. We've got Intel's Intel's BE Wi-Fi 7 201 chip in here, so that means you're going to get Wi-Fi 7 speeds. And about 2 rooms across from the router here, I was getting close to 50 megabytes per second wireless downloads here, so very, very good Wi-Fi speeds. And of course, it didn't have any issue with picking up the connection or staying stably connected. And we've got Bluetooth 5.4 to complement that Wi-Fi 7 chip in here, thanks to that Intel BE201. Bluetooth connections were very stable. It's got Bluetooth low energy, so that you can do lots of little goodness such as find your laptop and so on, even when the devices are turned off. Okay, so the elephant in the room that everybody wants to know: how is the power on this? How is the battery life? How long does it last? Can it get me through a full day without carrying my power brick here? So this can be powered with any standard 65-watt USB Type-C power adapter. It doesn't really need a lot of juice. It does have all of the other goodies like express charge, for example. It can charge up to 80% in 30 minutes. Of course, if you do that, it's going to reduce the overall battery life of the device here. So what you should be looking at instead is to have a balance depending on your use case here. For example, we can see here with the battery running, and I'm just sitting idle pretty much. It's showing me a battery life estimate here of 17 hours with 70% charge on the battery. We've got a 73 watt hour battery in this device here, which is plenty for a 14-inch thin and light like this that you're going to be taking on the go for work, for school, for study, etc. Even with running heavy workloads, for example, I was able to run Farmar benchmark on here on the battery life. It reduced to about 3 hours of battery life with a full charge. That is impressive considering even the massive gaming laptops with 99 watt hour batteries only managed to squeak out about 45 minutes to an hour running a benchmark or a GPU intensive operation. So we'll just demonstrate that quickly here. I want you guys to see that even on battery power, these things are pretty freaking amazing. As you can see here, running on that Intel Arc 140 GPU that's built into the Lunar Lake chip here, we're getting about 27 FPS at 1920 by 1080 resolution. And of course, this is running basically silent. There is no fan noise whatsoever. I ran this for an extended period of time. I didn't see the device heat up. I didn't hear any noise. I was actually very impressed with the noise profile and the thermals from this particular device. Of course, if you're gaming, that may vary a little bit depending on how much power is being boosted and pushed to that CPU slash GPU combination. But that said, here it is very possible to do heavy graphics intensive work on this device. So let's go back to the battery for a second here. As I mentioned, 73 watt hours. It does have quick charge. Of course, with Lenovo Vantage, of course, you should head into Lenovo Vantage here so you can have lots of different goodies to help extend the overall battery life of your device, so this will last a long time. For example, if you go into your battery life here into power under device settings, you'll see first and foremost you get battery health. It'll tell you how your battery is doing. It'll give you a battery temp. Right now we're sitting at 80 degrees, which is absolutely nothing. It's staying nice and cool. We can also see your battery warranty as well, and of course it'll tell you the overall capacity, different polymer cells, etc. And here's the most interesting part here. Now, under charging, there's a few different ways to extend the battery life. So either you can turn on conservation mode, which will stop charging, or at about 80% to preserve the overall battery life of your device, or you can turn on rapid charge, either or. Keep in mind, if you do use rapid charge, which is as advertised, it may deplete the battery life or the battery much sooner than if you had used the conservation mode. You can, in addition, turn on what's called an overnight battery charging. So if you have this plugged in to the wall, you put it next to your bed or on your desk, you leave it charging overnight, it will slowly trickle charge beyond 80% up to 100%, which is going to have less of an impact on the overall battery life of this particular device. So nice to see that Lenovo has baked in all of those goodies for battery extension and battery life here into this device. And of course, as I mentioned, when you flip the lid up, it powers on the device. You can toggle that feature on here as well. And we do have the USB Type A port on the right hand side, which is a power share port. That means you can plug in your headphones, your AirPods, whatever, while the device is closed to charge, and you can turn on that feature or off from here as well. It's called the always on USB power sharing, so that also is available here. Alright, so in case you didn't believe any of what I've just said, I want to demonstrate here to you that these Lunar Lake CPUs are actually quite impressive. So here I am, I'm running on battery life, there's no AC power attached. I'm using my external hard drive here to play Shed of the Tomb Raider natively at the 1920 by 1200 resolution of this device without Intel ZSS, and I'm running at about 30 frames per second. But it varies between high 20s to 40 FPS depending on what's happening on the scene. And the more intensive areas like this where there's lighting and more effects, it seems to drop down to around 20 FPS. Of course, I'm on the medium preset here, so that means a lot of things like lens flare, bloom effect are all activated. If I turn the settings down, play at, maybe the low setting, I can probably get this to be a 40 FPS, 40 to 50 FPS kind of game here. So just to show you, and it's silent, there's zero heat whatsoever. None of this surface area is hot on this device. If you're not impressed till now, this should really impress you. Of course, this isn't the intended use case for this device, but it's very good to know that if you're a casual gamer, if you like to play a collection of legacy games, not necessarily the latest AAA games, you're going to be able to do that and certainly have a great time. And this is very, very impressive for a device that really can do it all. When I said it's got a CPU, it's got it's a low power and very effective CPU. It's got a very good GPU as well on board here, iGPU, and it's got a very good NPU for AI. This really is the laptop generation that can do it all. Intel's Lunar Lake, this should be the laptop for most people. And if you don't believe me, we'll show you one more game just so I can drive this point home. Drive another point home here. So this is a console port. This is Returnal, which is a Sony PlayStation game. It's been ported to PC and is available on many different game stores here. So this one is running at 900p resolution on the low preset, and this one here we can see that it's very, very playable. We're staying about 30 FPS plus in terms of the actual gameplay experience here, and the visuals are very, very good. If you have a controller, you can sit back with your Xbox controller or a wireless controller here and play some gaming sessions on this particular laptop with the iGPU. Now keep in mind that all of this is still being done on battery power. I don't have any AC power plugged into this device. I'm running the games off of my external SSD via the Thunderbolt 4 port USB here, and this game seems to be running at 32 FPS at 900p resolution, of course on the low preset. Very, very good performance here. Of course, there's a few little stutters. Those can be ironed out, of course, varying on the different types of games that you play. If you're playing, for example, strategy games, or if you're something that's a lot less 3D intensive, you're gonna have a very, very good time here with this laptop and the Intel Arc 140 GPU graphics here. So that's all I really have to say about that. Very, very compelling display and laptop combination here. Lenovo has done a great job and put together an excellent and very, very compelling package. Of course, keep an eye out on Lenovo's website. They always have deals running. You can find some very, very good deals on these laptops. So that said, this is all really I have to say about this Lenovo Slim 7 for 2025. I've covered the Aura Edition features in a prior video, but basically, we'll just touch on that quickly here before we wrap this up. And I think that'll be the last thing I have to say about this video. Alright, being that this is an Aura Edition device, I want to talk about what Aura Edition is and what exactly those features Lenovo has brought to this device as well. So Aura Edition is an effort by Lenovo to make use of some of the AI chops, the Lenovo AI engine, the Intel NPU, and of course all of the latest tech that's coming with these Lunar Lake CPUs. So you have here above the F9 key a mode button. And if you press this button here, you get this on-screen display, which allows you to tune different modes. For example, you have here, you can pop yourself into eco mode, you can go into balance mode, of course into high performance mode. You also get other features such as a VPN control from this display as well, and you have a few other privacy guard and so on. This is a focus timer that you can use, and of course you have a option here for privacy guard, so when you're not looking directly at the display, it's going to basically blur the display. You can go into our device settings, and under modes you can find all of these. Let me turn this down a little bit here. So as you can see, when we pop into Lenovo Vantage under device settings and modes, we can find all of the Lenovo Aura Edition modes and configurations in here. And there's quite a few configurations here to look at. For example, there's a different usage scenarios such as common use, gaming, meeting, or learning. And of course, you have some smart modes as well. You can turn on a VPN shield. If you have a VPN software that you use regularly, you can use this mode to toggle your VPN connection on or off. You have an attention mode here. So attention mode will allow you to focus on your work. It's similar to a Pomodoro. It gives you a timer, and it blocks all of the notifications and anything else that might be distracting to you, so you can focus and get some work done. And you can also go in here into power, adjust the different power modes here. So you've got best power efficiency, balance, or best performance. If we looked at this test here before we started doing the gaming tests, I've done a few different benchmarks here. We started at about 70% of battery life. We've still got 54% percent of battery life remaining. However, now with the use case that we just ran on this device, it's estimating now that the remaining battery life remaining is about 2 hours and 35 minutes. So keep in mind that all of those AI chops here are really working to your advantage, and we're working towards a display, devices in the very near future where AI will handle all of the tasks around your device, and no matter what type of workflow you have, whether it's gaming, or workflow, productivity, content consumption, it will just automatically tune these devices. I'm really looking forward to that future where we don't have to mess with these softwares. It's just baked in. The operating system takes care of it, and you can basically just enjoy using your device for whatever intended use you may have. All right, so I think that will pretty much wrap it up here for this video. I hope you enjoyed this content. This is a very compelling device for all of the reasons I've already mentioned. There's really nothing to dislike about this device. I tried really hard to find something that I really did not like, but alas, there really wasn't anything. So very good job, Lenovo here. I'm very pleased with this device. If you're looking for an all-around do-it-all laptop, you're not too picky or very performance heavy, or if you don't really care about playing the AAA latest games at very high refresh rates, this is going to be able to get everything done for you. And if you're into AI or using AI or starting to learn AI, Copilot and AI with the NPU on board here is going to be really something for you to get your fingers wet with that. So thank you very much to Lenovo for sending this out. As I mentioned, all of the thoughts in this video are wholly my own. None have been privy to the editorial of this content. So as I mentioned before, this was loaned to me by Lenovo. Thank you very much for sending this out for review. However, all of the content and thoughts you've seen in this video are wholly my own, and none have been privy to editorial of this content before it goes live. That said, also please check the description for links if you're looking to purchase this laptop. It really helps out the channel when you click our affiliate links and purchase through them. We also often have a discount code, so check the description for that. Thanks very much for watching. Please click the like button, please click the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when there's new content available here on this channel. And we'll see you in the next